Hello everyone, how you going? And welcome to Australia versus Canada country comparison. Now obviously we've been checking out US things and really I just want to know what are some of the differences because people keep telling us what's a little bit weird or what's a little bit wrong or strange about Australia, but I want to know what are some similarities and what are some differences. So let's see what these people have to say.
Australia, Canada. Two gigantic countries with low populations,
That's for
incredible living standards and friendly, welcoming people.
Fair enough. That's a pretty good kind of summary of the entire thing so far.
Welcome back to the Geography Bible. I'm Sam, your narrator for the video. In this video, we'll be comparing two countries which are actually quite similar, but geographically are nowhere near each other. Then once you've watched the video and dropped a like, of course, we will then ask you which one you'd rather live in and which one you would rather just visit.
Yeah, I think a comparison between Canada and Australia is going to be a really kind of weirdly similar thing, but then I guess at the same time, obviously Canada is going to have a very close and a very big influence from the US, and so yeah, it'll be interesting to see how these two British colonies originally have kind of diverged or not.
So out of the two, Canada is more populated with around 37.7 million people, making them the 39th most populous nation on Earth, behind Poland and above Morocco. Fun fact, there are more people living in Greater Tokyo than there are in the entirety of Canada. Think about that.
Wow.
A city in the world has a higher population than the second biggest country on the planet.
Wow, that's pretty incredible as a statistic. I mean, I can certainly understand that, and really I would love to know what Greater Tokyo really includes, because Tokyo is such a sprawling, massive city, and so I guess you can kind of understand where people could be fitting, but yeah, that is one hell of a stat. Honestly, I don't want to hear about what Australia is, because we're like half that.
Australia is the 55th most populated country in the world, with roughly 25.5 million people, putting them above Niger and below North Korea. Now that we know their populations, let's look at their population densities. So with 3.92 people per kilometre squared, Canada is technically more densely populated, making them the 8th lowest densely populated country in the world.
Look at that, these people just keep bringing out amazing statistics. So Greenland, I guess, is number one, population of 56,000. Man, I can't blame them. I really don't think there was too much room for people to be living in Greenland. I mean, it's not very green from what I hear or what you see on a map. And so considering the fact that they have a 0 person per square kilometre density, I would love to know what the actual number is. Like, is it 0.01? Is it 0. Like infinite 01? Like, just what is going on here? So Falkland Islands, Mongolia, Western Sahara, and then Australia. Man, I mean, as we can see, Canada is also quite clearly on there, but Australia and Canada's numbers just blow everyone else out of the water, and so that just means you got to have one hell of a big country to be able to do that.
Then we have Australia with 3 people per kilometre squared, making them the 5th lowest densely populated country in the world. Again, this next one is unbelievably close. Their life expectancy at birth. So Australia just takes the win here at just under 84 years, followed by Canada at just under 83. This means that Australia has the 8th highest life expectancy in the world, and Canada is in 16th place. But are you ready for another crazy fact which actually counteracts the previous information? Which country in the world do you think has the highest cancer rates? I'll give you a clue. It's a country with lots of sun and generally quite a pale skin population. It is, of course,
there we go.
Australia.
Look at that. Whoa, I didn't even look at that. Wow, let me take that back.
Skin population.
They absolutely blitz past this guy. We are number 1 in the world. I knew we were high, but I didn't really know that we were number 1. And I especially didn't know that New Zealand was number 2, and then Ireland. I mean, I guess I can kind of understand Ireland as well, considering, well, the kind of heritage of Australia and how everyone's going to be kind of pale. But at the same time, that rate is insane. Going from 1st to 3rd is nearly 100-point difference. That's pretty massive. I mean, I can understand the sun, because as we've explored before, the sun is kind of just a little, or hits a little bit differently in Australia. And so, yeah, I absolutely can agree that that would be a big thing, because it's talked about as well.
And then in 11th place,
number 11.
Canada. And finally, for demographics, let's look at the average age of the population. Now, a younger population is generally a better thing. This means a younger workforce and less of an aging population to hinder the economy and healthcare system. So Australia wins this one with an average age of 38.8 compared to Canada's 42.4.
Wow, that is really quite surprising to me, because I just considered Australia's population to be getting so old. I mean, maybe it's kind of a worldwide thing with the baby boomers and all those kind of things, but at the same time, man, to be having, what was it, 4 extra years almost? Yeah, like 3.5 extra years on Australia. That's a massive difference, I would think, overall.
Alright, let's now move on to their geography, starting off with their total land area.
Canada's
this section
bigger.
Should be interesting because they are both gigantic. Being the second biggest country on Earth, only behind Russia, Canada has a staggering just under 9.1 million kilometers squared total land
large
area,
thing.
compared to Australia's 7.7 million, which makes them
Also
the
pretty
6th
decent,
biggest
though.
country in the world. While Australia is an island, it is considered a continent, but it technically is the biggest island on Earth. For a visual comparison of these two countries,
Here we go. I was about to say, has anyone ever been on True Size of where you can actually just like drag things around, and then they bring up this? Because when you use a website like this, you actually just get to go there and you can drag countries all around. You go, oh, the projection of actually just making a sphere onto a flat surface doesn't really work too well in terms of just keeping everything to scale. And so yes, Canada's a very large place, but there is no way that Greenland or anything, all that northern countries are nowhere near as big as they really are. Like you said, obviously Canada is a very big place, only behind Russia, but once you bring those countries and virtually the northern aspects of the country just down to the equator, they don't look as threatening and massively imposing as they do just on a normal map.
Over to the True Size.
Here we go. Look at this. Look how much it shrinks. It's ridiculous.
Countries
there we go.
It is difficult to represent our three-dimensional world on a two-dimensional map. So this website allows us to see how big each country actually is.
I mean, you can definitely see the difference there.
So by grabbing both of these countries and putting them on the equator, we can see their actual sizes
scale
side
difference.
by side. So yes, Canada is obviously massive, but its proportions are incorrectly displayed on a traditional map.
Look at that. I just want to take this back for a second. There we go. We can see all the differences of the entire country. Obviously, Canada seems a little bit wider, but we might be a bit taller. I mean, I guess obviously they're bigger overall, but they have so many different islands. I'm fairly sure Canada actually has the most coastline of any country in the world just because they have so many different little islands. I mean, we have the most beaches and things, and we certainly have a lot of coastline. But crazily enough, once you add up all the little islands and everything like that, even considering the fact that they share a border with the US, I'm fairly sure they even have the most coastline in the world. And so yeah, I mean, they're definitely bigger. I would love for them to overlay Russia there as well, because it really is. I mean, actually, maybe I'll do it. There we go. I'll try and drag it to a similar spot, and then we'll put Australia there as well. Here we go. Bring you over. Okay, there we go. And then we got Russia, right? And this is the one, oh no, Russia. Here we go. So obviously you can see how massive that is. Like, it just looks insane. Ready? You bring it down to the equator. They don't look so massive and imposing anymore. Not compared to up here. I mean, they're definitely still a massive, massive country, as everybody knows. But look at the difference. I mean, yeah, I mean, there's no getting around sheer volume. But really, when you actually just don't have a ridiculous projection anymore, things definitely start changing. Oh, man, going back to this map, it looks so horrible.
Displayed on a traditional map. Let's now take a look at what percentage of these countries' landmass is covered in forests, and also how much coastline they have. With 16.2%, 39% of which is in Queensland, of the country being covered in forest, Australia has significantly less than Canada at 34%. So,
I mean, at the same time, if you did compare the desert ratio between the two countries, I feel as though Australia is definitely going to come out on top in that regard.
More than a third of Canada's total size is actually forests. Canada actually has the third most forest by area in the world, and Australia has the 6th. Okay.
Oh, really? We have the 6th in the world. Wait, hang on a second. Even though it definitely makes sense, as you can understand, considering the fact that number 1 through 6 are the biggest 1 through 6 countries in the world. Man, I mean, I guess they're not in order because it goes Russia, Canada, China, US, Brazil, Australia, I'm fairly sure. But yeah, look at Brazil go with its forest. I mean, that's obviously very quickly diminishing. And I've also just realized that Russia has more forests than all of Australia combined. So that is just a crazy statistic. Russia is just a ridiculous
in the world,
country.
And Australia has the 6th. Okay, so before we reveal this one, out of the two, which one do you think has the most coastline? This country.
Alright then, well, I feel as though I already kind of covered this, so we don't need to kind of cover it, but I personally think that it's Canada, even though everyone I would assume would think that Australia, because well, we have so many beaches and, you know, kind of more renowned for it.
Also has the most coastline out of any country on Earth. So if you said Australia,
yes, I was right. Thank goodness for that.
202,000 kilometers. Canada has by far the most coastline in the world, followed by Australia.
What was that?
Canada.
50% of the world's coastline is around Canada. Whoa, that is an insane statistic.
The most coastline in the world.
That's insane. Wait, what was that? Whoa, wow, nearly 10 times more.
Now, to my surprise, Norway actually has the second most coastline in the world.
I guess because, as we can see here, it's just so intricate. Just look at all that coastline. But wow, if that was a geographical question or just any kind of trivia question, there was no way that I would have put Norway as number 2. I would have put Russia, I imagine.
And some financial statistics for these two countries. So with 1.3 trillion US dollars, Australia has the 13th biggest economy in the world, which is actually very impressive considering their population is only 25.5 million. This puts them above Spain and below South Korea. Then with 1.65 trillion, Canada is the 10th biggest economy in the world, behind Italy and above
ahead of Russia.
However, Canada's
that's incredible. And I didn't even know that Italy was that high either. Man, there was some kind of just sleepers in there. I don't know what else would be there. Maybe Germany. Who else? China, obviously. US, obviously. But I guess overall, when you think about it, considering the fact that Australia is less populated than Canada, we're only having, what, like 300 billion less isn't that big of a deal. I wonder if he's going to say per capita.
And Australia, just under 2%.
Wait, what was that?
Now that we economy in the world, however, Canada's economy is actually growing faster at just over 3%.
Oh,
and
wow.
Australia, just under 2%.
Just under 2.
Now that we know their
fastest.
GDP,
I think China's
we can calculate their GDP per capita.
Oh, here we go. They are about to do GDP per capita.
With around $55,000 US dollars per
50,000
person, compared to Canada's 46,000.
Wow, look at that. I mean, obviously that's inflation.
So
whoa, what the hell happened in 2010?
Is around $9,000 more than the average Canadian. However, Australia is the 16th most expensive country to live in the world, compared to Canada, which is in 24th place.
Yeah, what can I say? That absolutely would balance the two out. I mean, we're considering the fact that we were 19th, I believe.
Canada, Australia is the 16th most expensive.
16th, and so I would like to know what is 15th and above. I mean, I can only imagine there were some very particular ones like Monaco that kind of sneak in there, and I don't know what else. But yeah, obviously, we're being 16th out of 150, 200 people, or not 200 people, 200 countries is certainly a pretty kind of up there statistic.
To live in the world, compared to Canada, which is in 24th place. So
I mean, hey, but at 24, they're certainly pretty high as well. Quick fire statistics, bring them on.
Have identical education expenditures at 5.3%. Inflation is higher in Australia at 2% compared to Canada's 1.6%.
Didn't they already say that it was... Wait, what? I'm so confused now. They already said that Canada was 3 and then now Australia was just under 2 and now they're saying that... What?
Inflation is higher in Australia.
Oh, okay. No. I got it a little bit wrong there. He's talking about inflation compared to GDP. Okay, that makes more sense. I was going, what? That's just clashing statistics.
2% compared to Canada's 1.6. And Canada has the 8th most billionaires in the world with 44. Compared to 31 in Australia.
Look at those numbers. That is absolutely disgusting. The fact that there is 614 and then 390 and then all the way down to Germany. Wow. I mean, I can only imagine that's a lot of kind of industry, but then look at that. It just drops off so significantly all the way down to 44 and then we have 31. Wouldn't have been able to tell you more than like 2.
Let's end this section by looking at the Big Mac Index.
Wait, what?
No, seriously, this is a genuine thing. So buying a Big Mac in Canada will burn a bigger hole in your pocket compared to the land down under.
What?
At $5.29 and $4.98 respectively.
That's
and
so
to end the
weird.
video, let's finish off with some quality of life.
I want to go back to that because I've never seen that. Poor Switzerland. Look at that, 7.3. My goodness, even the US is higher than us. That's insane. I mean, I would like to know who was the lowest, but that's a very weird thing. I've never heard of that statistic before.
At $5.29. To end the video, let's finish off with some quality of life statistics.
Quality of life. Everyone's going to have good quality of life.
Both of these countries excel in my opinion. When I think of Canada and Australia, I think of high wages, good education, and great living standards in general. Of course, they are both not perfect, and they do, of course, have poverty in certain areas. Let's start off by looking at a not so great statistic for these two countries.
Obesity.
To which they are neck and neck. Their obesity rates.
Yeah.
They pretty much have the same percentage of the adult population classed as obese, at roughly 29%.
That is crazy, and really I can only imagine that that's not even including overweight statistics. I mean, I do wish that their bar in the graph was a little bit more representative of 30%, because that might be throwing some people off thinking it's more like 45% or anything like that. But either way, 30%, like really, for the fact that there is a third of people that are overweight, or not even overweight, obese, that is, oh man, that's a wow.
It's no surprise, as both of these countries indulge in a 21st century Western diet.
Oh yeah.
The Aussies sure do love their meat, beer, and barbecues.
Yeah.
Australia
Wait, hang on a second. Why is you single out Australia
beds
like that? Hey, no. Taking that back, because even though I'm fairly once upon a time, I don't know if we still hold the record, we were the biggest meat eaters per capita ever in the world, but at the same time, like, why did we get singled out for that? I just want to know what Canada
Australia has more physicians and hospital beds per 1,000 people, with 3.8 and 3.59 respectively. When it comes to school life expectancy, Australia is ranked as the #1 in the world. The school life expectancy, or the SLE, is the total number of years of schooling, this is primary to tertiary, that a child can expect to receive.
Really? That's an insane statistic, because what, 23 years? 23 years of school? Surely not. If you're starting, that means you're finishing like 30. No, I want to know what, I mean, maybe that's the average age when people are finishing, because it is such a massive push for everyone to go to university, but at the same time, I would just love to know what the hell they're talking about there. So with a staggering
23 years, Australia takes the win here. Canada sits in #1 in the world, with many other countries at 17 years, which is
16.
still very impressive. Australia just misses.
I would love to know what the kind of gap between first, second, third, fourth and all the rest of them are, because 23 years, are you joking?
Out on the top 10 happiest countries in the world.
Hey, look at that.
Which coincidentally sits behind Canada in 11th place.
Look at that. It's literally just always the Nordic countries, and you got like other random ones, and then New Zealand, Austria, Luxembourg, Canada and Australia. Like, and they just make so much sense, and it's always the top countries.
Canada in 11th place.
Happiness score, there's not even that much between them.
Canada ranks as the 6th most peaceful country on Earth,
wow,
compared to Australia in 13th place.
Fair enough.
However,
I don't even know how you measure that.
Australia does make the top 10 compared to Canada, who are in 16th place. And finally, the last one, let's compare their military strength ranking. And to no surprise, these two countries are neck and neck again, with Australia having the 19th strongest military in the world compared to Canada, who are in 21st place.
How the hell do you even go about calculating that? Is it like per capita? Is it per budget? Like, I can only assume that the US would probably have the biggest power score of like 1,000 in the world, but I would just love to know what that is, because how are we 0.33 and then 0.39 with Israel in between? I have no idea, but hey, whatever, I'll just take the numbers for what they mean. Anyway, I feel as though that's the end of the video. Look at Melbourne
while you're there,
wow.
Let us know which cities or countries we should do next. Personally, I would live in Australia because I'm a summer baby who loves the ocean, and I'd visit Canada for sure. It's another dream.
That's what everyone seems to do.
I hope to visit soon. So thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video or you learned something new, a like would be much appreciated.
I can only assume that's Australia, but
if you love this sort of content.
But there we go. I guess that is going to be it for Australia versus Canada. Obviously, that was a very kind of informative, factual video between all the statistics that they mentioned, and really, obviously, let's be honest, very, very similar countries overall. And so, yeah, I mean, I would certainly, from what I've heard, I'd live in either. I mean, obviously, I'm a little bit biased to one of them, but hey, Canada certainly sounds like a brilliant place. I know plenty of people that have gone skiing there and those kind of things, and I feel as though generally, from my perspective, I agree with what he said in terms of just living here, and then, of course, just making the trip over to Canada whenever you feel like. But anyway, no, that was a great little video. Just make sure to check out the original, that'll be in the description, and I'll also make sure to check out any other country comparisons that I've got, but I think for now I'm going to call it there. So thank you for watching. If you did enjoy the video, feel free to do the YouTube algorithmic things down below. Also, if this is the first video of mine that you're watching, then make sure to check out some of the other ones we've done, which weird and wacky things about Australia, or hey, maybe even just want to consider subscribing so that you don't miss another one of these in the future. But all in all, have a good one and see ya.